Morning, Doctor. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Cik Asma. Hazizan. Hi, Pete.
Hi.
Hello. Morning, Pete. Cannot hear you.
How are you, Dr. Diana?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. You are looking great today.
Thank you. You too.
All right.
Can I hear your voice, Pete?
Can you hear it?
Not very clear.
How about now?
Not really. Is it only me or others can't hear too? Hazizan, can you hear Peter?
Not so much. The songs sounds very deep. Not sure. Maybe Peter can also try it. Is it my sound is clear?
Yeah, yeah. But not as clear as.
Is that better?
Yes, it is.
Too loud?
No, not for me.
Okay. So I've just adjusted my speaker volume. Wow. Very, very serious looking crowd.
Nice, right? Serious, but still nice.
Yeah. So I'll be able to present my thing from my computer, won't I? Someone can just let me share my screen and I will do it that way.
Yeah, everybody
Awesome.
control their own screen.
Awesome. Excellent. Can we test our presentations or don't we have time?
Oh yeah. Ri, bisa nggak udah di ini?
Are you chairing this session, Diana?
No. Hazizan is going to to be the moderator for the question and answer and presentation, and Dr. Ismail here is going to be the MC.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they are from Malaysia, and this is our president, Prof. Hendrik, is already here.
Fantastic.
The IMT-GT has 12 universities in that, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand.
How are you, Pete?
Really good.
You look pink today.
Yes, I just feel in a pink mood. Is that okay?
Yeah, fine. You sound great.
I'm feeling pink.
I'm trying to set up my virtual background, but I guess I'm not really good at.
I normally do mine really badly. You can have my guitar and my hat. I hope it's not too glary.
Excuse me for a while. I want to check the speakers and those giving speech. Excuse me for a while.
Just mute myself.
Why, when we use the virtual background, we look different?
Scaring. Shit. Oh, shit.
It's like we're editing our face to become someone else, especially on our top of our head.
Right.
How's the situation in your country, Pete? I think you forgot to unmute your speaker, Pete.
It's not too bad. Seem to have the virus reasonably under control in most of the major states. Victoria is the state that's had the most problems for the last month, but by and large, I think we're going to be okay coming out of all this. Some recent data today suggests that our economy will recover quite quickly.
That's good.
I'm not sure what that data is, where that data is coming from, but employment's going up, and so there are a couple of indicators that suggest things aren't as bad as some other places.
But this thing caught
I'm being cautious.
Yes. I mean, this thing caught us by surprise, right?
Oh yeah, totally. But in terms of its impact on my university, we're a bit unusual compared to many other Australian universities because, as you'll see in my presentation, most of our students are online anyway. So the adjustment has been less stressful for us compared to some other Australian universities.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and all my classes this year were all going to be online classes anyway. So for me personally, sitting here or at home, in my office at home, it's business as usual, mostly. Yeah.
And I think it's quite a learning curve for all of us in Southeast Asia, I think.
Of course, very much. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see in 12 months' time, 2 years' time, who successfully takes up online delivery and what students will say they prefer. I know that a group of my students like face-to-face, but they also are very happy with this kind of interaction. It's one thing that the feedback I get from my students, and I've been doing online for maybe 7 years now, is that most of our students know what isolation is all about because they live in remote parts of Australia, or they live internationally, or they come home from work after a busy day and they have to get dinner, feed the children, then come and have a class with me. And they looked at even a virtual connection like this, it really helps with their feelings of being part of something. So even if it's a Zoom session, students they prefer that to no contact. So that's been an interesting bit of feedback I've been getting for the past few years. Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's doable. It's possible to make this work.
Yeah. Dr. Hazizan, how are you? I think you forgot to unmute your microphone.
Okay. Sorry, Prof.
How are you, Doctor? How's everything in Penang?
Yeah, very fine. A bit hectic here and there. I mean, of course, due to this COVID, but somehow we are still working on it. I think, UUM, we have been postponing the student intake, right?
Yes, we have to do it.
Due to this, due to the MCO. But somehow, for us in the USM, we work as usual, except for bringing in the KLE students from India. So we have about 200 students. In New Delhi now is quite having the difficulty, especially in this New Delhi area. So we are bringing them back to Malaysia.
Okay, I think one of the challenge now is, getting our international students coming physically to come to our country, right, to campus.
Yeah. Even one of my PhD students in Pakistan, he lived back to Pakistan way back somewhere in February. And just after that, we have the MCO and what's on. And then he's still stuck in Pakistan now.
Yeah, likewise.
More than half years.
Thank you, Dr. Hazizan. Dr. Ismail, everything's okay?
Yeah, Prof. Good morning. Assalamualaikum. Prof, I can see your virtual background is you should flip because the wording.
Oh, flip. Okay, you mean the mirror things, right?
Yeah, the mirror. Yeah, the mirror.
Okay, no problem. I just learned it now. Wait.
It's raining now in Perlis.
Excuse me, Pete, can you try your slide just for a second? Just to make sure.
Sure.
Is it okay now, Dr. Ismail?
Not yet, Prof.
See that, Diana?
What about now?
Still the same.
I thought I already tick off my mirror my video.
I haven't seen yours, Pete. Can you try your slide?
Share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, do that now. You'll
Okay.
see it a second.
Okay. Should be fine. Okay, thank you.
I'll just put it up into PowerPoint mode, Diana.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. You only see one screen.
Yeah, it should be surprise later on. Just want to check this.
Yeah, no worries.
Selamat pagi. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so maybe can I see
Assalamualaikum. Good morning, everybody.
Waalaikumsalam, Prof. Bus. This is our Vice Rector, everybody, and the leader for USU.
Nice to meet you all.
Can you stop sharing the screen, please? Okay, thank you. Azura, can we see yours? The slide, just for a test.
Hold on. So I should click sharing, is it?
Yeah, share screen on the bottom. Beside the chat. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Okay, perfect. Okay, and can you please stop it now? Okay. Can you stop that?
Fine. Hold on.
Yeah. On the top of the screen, you can see stop. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Pak Bus, can we start now? It's already 10 minutes.
You want to check the share screen, something?
Yes, Pak. Please.
Oh, okay. Wait a second.
Oh, this is our rector.
Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih banyak, Pak.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Prof.
Good morning, Pak Rector.
That is Prof. Hendrik, Pak Rector. Prof. Hendrik is the president of IMT-GT.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Hendrik.
Good morning, Pak Runtung.
Ya.
Selamat pagi, Pak Rektor. Good morning.
Pagi, Prof. Bus. Bustami. Selalu dipanggil Bus.
Dr. Diana, can you see my screen?
Your virtual background, sir. Not yet.
Oh, the virtual?
Yeah, it doesn't have to, but I can see you clearly.
Huh?
And I think Prof. Riri is also here.
Yeah.
Good morning, Prof. Riri. Can you hear me, Prof? Prof. Riri is from UI GreenMetric.
Yeah.
Good morning, Prof.
Yang ini ya. Okay, can you see this one?
Yes, clearly. Nice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Jadi bisa tutup lagi ya?
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
yeah, please. And Peter is also here, Pak Rector. Peter from UNE is the one that helping us with this.
Iya, kayaknya udah saya kirim. Udah sebentar lagi kita aja ya. Biar.
Mana Ibu Riri, Prof Riri?
Zura, maybe you can try and tick off the green screen.
Yes, Prof. Tick off the green screen.
Yeah, I think the blurry side is because of the green screen, right?
Yeah, try.
Make you very shining.
There's one menu there. I have a green screen. I think just leave it out. Dr. Diana, do we have all our colleagues from Thailand?
I haven't checked, sorry, Prof. Yesterday, they already confirmed that, and they're also in our WhatsApp group, but I haven't checked this morning. And in this webinar, let me do it.
How are you, Pak Rector? You look great.
Prof Riri sudah muncul tuh.
Bapak Rector, I still remember the durian in
Durian Medan.
Medan.
Assalamualaikum, Prof Riri. Good morning. Can you hear me, Prof?
Salam, selamat pagi semuanya.
Terima kasih, Ibu, for joining us.
Lagi. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Ibu.
Hello, everyone.
This is our rector, Ibu. He's already here, Prof Runtung.
Prof Riri.
Selamat pagi, Prof Runtung. Apa kabar?
Baik.
Selamat pagi.
And the president of IMT-GT is also here, Prof Hendrik.
Prof Hendrik.
How are you, Prof Riri?
Oh, fine, thank you. Hello, Pak Hendrik. Salam semuanya Bapak Ibu dari Universitas Utara Malaysia, dari Peter, Profesor Peter Mcclenaghans. Sorry for my spelling. Hi everyone. Terima kasih sudah diundang Bapak Prof Runtung, Prof Bustami.
Ya, selamat pagi.
Pagi.
Pak Rektor, boleh kita mulai, Pak?
Ya, silakan.
Okay, I give this stage to Ismail, Dr. Ismail. The stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Diana. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, Sawadee-Kap. Hello, everyone. I'm Ismail and welcome to today's IMT-GT Youth Varsity UIGM GreenMetric joint webinar with the title Being More Environmentally Friendly Through Online and E-Learning Methods, jointly organized by Universitas Sumatera Utara, Indonesia and University Utara, Malaysia with collaboration of IMT-GT Varsity Council, USU Green Campus and UI GreenMetric. Great. We managed to meet virtually today in new normal situation. Now, I will ask you everyone to check if you can see and hear us very well. Just a few housekeeping announcements before we get started. Kindly ensure that you have registered using our given registration link. Second, right now we would appreciate for everyone to mute your mic to avoid background noises that may distract us from listening to this webinar. Third, you will have the opportunity to submit text questions or comment to today's speakers by typing your question into question pane of the control panel. You may send your question at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them in the Q&A session at the end of the presentation of the 4 speakers. This webinar session is also showing live on YouTube channel, USU TV Serembang. Please remain till the end as a group session. As a group screen photo session will be taken at the end of the webinar. Everyone, cooperation is really appreciated. Thank you. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to welcome our distinguished guests, the Honorable Professor Dr. Runtung, the Rectors of Universitas Sumatera Utara, the Honorable Associate Professor Dr. Hendrik Lamsali, the President of IMT-GT Varsity Council, the Honorable Professor Dr. Insignio Riri Fitri Sari, the Chairperson of UIGM, the Honorable Professor Dr. Insignio Rosmayati, Vice Rector of Universitas Sumatera Utara, Dr. Diana Khalil, the Chairman of IMT-GT Seminar Subcommittee, and all the speakers. Thank you for being with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to invite the Honorable Associate Professor, Dr. Hendrik Lamsali, the President of IMT-GT Council, to deliver his welcoming remarks. Please welcome.
Thank you, Doctor. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, good day to all. Please allow me to proceed with salutation first. Assistant Professor Krisana Pong Sangkavasi, Vice President of IMT-GT Varsity Council, Dr. Ir. Alfian Shah Yulianur, Vice President of IMT-GT Varsity Council, and who is also Vice Rector for Student Affairs and Alumni, Shah Kuala University, the Honorable Professor Dr. Runtung, Rector Universitas Sumatera Utara, USU, Professor Dr. Insignio Riri Fitri Sari, Chairperson of UI GreenMetric, Professor Dr. Insignio Rosmayati, Vice Rector USU, and the leader of IMT-GT Varsity USU, Ms. Asmawiza Haji Usim, Secretary General of IMT-GT Varsity Council, UUM, Assistant Professor Dr. Supati Kovitaya, Vice President of Student Development, Prince Songkla University, Dr. Ahmad Nizan Matno, Deputy Rector Student Affairs Division, UITM, Dr. Nasrullah Razali, Vice Secretary from Shah Kuala University, Ms. Doadol Chanta Pratin, Vice Secretary from Thailand, and of course, the women of the hour, the men of the hour, Dr. Diana Khalil, who is also the chairman of Seminar Subcommittee IMT-GT and also UI GreenMetric USU Team. A Major Associate Professor IR Dr. Mohd Hazizan Mohd Hashim, Sub-Seminar Committee of USM, who is our moderator today. Madam Nur Azura Abdurrahman, Sub-Seminar, who is also our panelist today. And of course, the cheerful Mr. Peter Mcclenaghans from University of New England as our invited speaker. Professor Dr. Bustami Syam, Vice Rector of Universitas Sumatera Utara, who is also USU Green Campus Coordinator, who is also our invited speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I think, Alhamdulillah, thank God. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to the Almighty for giving us the opportunity to meet virtually through the webinar entitled Being More Environmentally Friendly Through Online and E-Learning. I would also like to congratulate the IMT-GT Seminar Subcommittee led by Dr. Diana Khalil from USU and also Madam Nur Azura, Seminar Subcommittee from UUM, and your wonderful working committee who successfully organized this webinar in collaboration with USU Green Campus and also UI GreenMetric World University Ranking. I believe this is a strategic partnership that could open up a new gateway towards organization of various activities and programs involving collaboration with external parties from IMT-GT, Varsity Council, and other partners. My sincere gratitude also extended to the Secretariat of the Council, who are also involved in promoting and managing the program, as well as participation of IMT-GT members in this webinar. I would also like to express my appreciation to our moderator, Associate Professor Dr. Mohd Hazizan, who is the sub-seminar committee from USM. And of course, welcome Pete, our friend Peter Mcclenaghans from University of New England as our speaker. I was informed that Pete has vast experience in this aspect of e-learning and online learning. I think we have a chat earlier before we start our seminar today, webinar today, that you've been doing it. I mean, you've been doing the online session, online learning for quite some time, even before the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all aware the effect of COVID-19 to the development of education around the world, especially when school children or university students have to stay at home, and the physical classroom learning could not be conducted as usual. This is also happened to university students when they can't attend the lectures or sit for examination physically as they normally do. For Victoria University or New England University, you've been doing it for quite some time, but for most of the university in Southeast Asia, this is our new normal and definitely caught us by surprise, and we have to quickly adapt and adjust to the new norm. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about online learning, we will mention about the concept of e-learning. Well, this concept is still, I think, relatively still new in the world of education, especially in Southeast Asia. In the context of higher education, we are doing our best to adapt to this new knowledge, new online knowledge transfer. This is a learning curve for everybody, not only to the students, but also to all other stakeholders, including the university, the teaching faculty, as well as in terms of the challenge of providing sufficient or good infra. Ladies and gentlemen, before this, students use their smartphone and laptop to surf the internet, social media sites such as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, for example, for only for leisure purposes. But now, everybody using social media as one of the main platforms to channel and to deliver teaching materials and teaching classes as well. The use of online learning has broadened the minds of students, and they know the importance of mastering technology wisely, as this skill will be an added advantage for them when they enter the workforce. Almost 90% of employers are transforming their company's human capital based management paradigm by using technology as more advanced and up-to-date mediums. Ladies and gentlemen, I also would like to highlight here that the pandemic of COVID-19, although often viewed negatively, but also, some people, as saying goes, in everything's happen, there's always a blessing in disguise. We know that the impact of the pandemic, our Earth can rest a little bit. We can minimize the carbon emission. We can minimize the transportation, the physical moving of humans. So this, although for the past 6 or 7 months, makes our Earth healthier. Online learning also has reduced the use of paper because of all the study materials and assignment, as well as creative idea of students will be submitted and conducted online. So we can do many positive things through online and e-learning. And of course, this could be the new norm moving forward, positive outcomes, not only to university and the students, but also to the world as a whole. I believe the organization of this webinar will pave the way for us to find some good solution to several e-learning management problems. We have expert here who has sufficient, who have vast experience in conducting e-learning and online learning. We have Peter from New England University. We have Azura. We have Major. So we have Prof Riri as well to share many things about the e-learning and online learning. I hope that the outcomes of this webinar can be submitted to our relevant authorities in our countries, in our respective country, so we can share the same, or we can adopt some of the guideline and some of the idea proposed during this webinar to our relevant authorities. Before I end the speech, once again, I would like to congratulate the IMT-GT Varsity Council for organizing the first webinar in collaboration with our strategic partners, Universitas Sumatera Utara, Green Campus and UI GreenMetric World University Ranking. Thank you very much, Bapak Rector, Professor Runtung, for your kindness to facilitate this program. And congratulations and well done to Dr. Diana and your wonderful team. I hope all participants of this webinar will gain immense benefit from this session. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Associate Professor Dr. Hendrik, the President of IMT-GT Varsity Council, for his welcoming remarks. Next, we would like to invite the Honorable Professor Dr. Insinyur Riri Fitri Sari, the Chairperson of UI Green, to deliver her speech. Please welcome.
Thank you, Moderator. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to thank University USU for inviting me today for this international webinar entitled Being More Environmentally Friendly Through Online and E-Learning Methods. We are so happy to know that during this pandemic, we can feel that we are very close to each other. I would like to say, I would like to greet all the speakers who has been putting their time together today to talk about these very important matters on teaching and learning during the pandemic situation in which we are using the online and e-learning methods. Rino, tolong ditampilkan. Right. Okay, so if you are not familiar with UI GreenMetric, probably I would like to tell you a little bit that UI GreenMetric is the oldest university ranking on green campus and sustainable campus in the world. Before Times Higher Impact Ranking started 2 years ago, and we have done this for 10 years, and now it's a big network of more than 780 universities from 85 countries, in which the collaboration has been tremendously improved during this pandemic situation, because we are seeking for all the participation and all support from friends from local, regional, and even internationally to be able to make education, good education, which is one of the SDGs that we would like, goals that we would like to achieve, can be conducted during this very difficult and critical situation, particularly just this week, even in my area here, news come, friends just go, and in the morning and in the evening, they said that I'm in the hospital, and the next day, he or she went to the ICU, and that's it. So It is just very sad, but there is always hope that there is a mechanism for us to meet with each other. So next, please. I'm very happy to talk about this to introduce how USU University also have been our partners for moving the idea in the regional of West Sumatra, in the West Indonesian section, in which they were, next please, in which they were one of the initiator for the meetings and all things. So as you can see that UI GreenMetric yearly provide this kind of report, fact file regarding how the university are working and really initiating some initiating some programs on how beautiful their campus is, how to keep efficient energy and providing climate change mitigation program, and also waste management and water management, transportation, education. One second. Right. So next. So this is, for example, now they've been doing a lot of benchmarking with other university. I know Pak Bustami went to some universities with us also, because we provide some world tour or sustainable campuses, and it can be seen now probably that we are inspired by so many activities conducted by our friends all over the world. And in Indonesia, USU is number 4 at the moment, and also these are some results. Next, please. Next. So next. Right. These are some programs that USU have initiated for some time, and last time we had the meeting there, and it is very good to know that many people are inspired by the initiative conducted by USU University, Universitas Sumatera Utara, knowing that they have done many things to change the university, in which now we are the location in which all the lecturers and students meet. But during this pandemic, we are going to talk about the future way of education, in which now all lecturers also try to put how the synchronous and asynchronous education can be conducted to reach the purpose of the educational goals for the students when they join us in the university. And students from all over the world are also trying to be part of one community in which they can be the friends to learn from each other. Back, please. Okay, this is the some events that we have. We have events in Moscow. We have events in University College Court, in which Professor Rector Untung and Vice Rector USU was there. When we had this, it was such a beautiful time. I never know when we are going to have this kind of meetings anymore because of this pandemic. But at that time, it was just like everyone support each other and learn from each other, and this kind of activities in which when all these university leaders went back home, they have so many items to do in order to improve the situation in their university. Lots of programs to improve the facilities, also teaching, learning, as well as research, and all activities, including a global annual report on their university achievement towards sustainable development goals. Next, please. Okay, so actually yearly, we ask university to provide their result before 31st of October. So to send some evidence, and then we will evaluate the data and validate the information provided within the evidence they have been submitting. So then the result of the announcement will be in the beginning of or mid of December. So, ladies and gentlemen, knowing that there are so many activities in the university that have been conducted, and also we are encouraging universities to do many activities during the all the academic year, and also now during the pandemic situation, also how to initiate some programs to be in which the university student can be the coach and leaders within their home, with around their area, in which they can start urban farming, and also so many activities to improve their focus and to take them to the idea in which we are really a link towards each other's, so that if someone if one of us is sick and the others will be affected, learning from this, then also we only share one single earth that we have, so we have to work together to learn from each other. And I know that this is very quick. Last Saturday I give the first lecture for students in Palopo, which is in the middle of Sulawesi, and I was surprised knowing that they can do magic things with this facility. With the Zoom, we have hundreds of students, and then in the YouTube at the same time we have 4,000 students, and then at the time Instagram, and it's all done. It's just really good to know that we have the common platform in which if we have the same sharing the same goals, eventually we can make it enlarge, and it's being the ideal situation in which we together can overcome all challenges faced in our shared earth. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I congratulate all the speakers and all participants today for this workshop on ensuring that e-learning are part of our future university. But please keep in mind that we have to keep the university operation run, because we have to be part of some kind of institution in which we can together make the bigger improvement. So most of our universities have been and will be always be the center of the knowledge development in our area, in our country, and in our region. Thank you so much, and good luck, everyone. I wish you a fruitful discussion today. Maybe if you haven't know that we are still having a few more meetings during this pandemic. Yesterday was in Sharjah, United Arab Emirates. Tomorrow I think we have some meeting also in Manado, and then in Sonora, Mexico, and Brazil. So all of this, and also next month we will have the largest annual meeting, which was there last year in Cork, Ireland, and next month will be in Iran. Thank you so much. Good luck. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Prof, for your informative speech. Ladies and gentlemen, next, we would like to graciously invite Professor Dr. Runtung, Director of Universitas Sumatera Utara, to deliver his opening speech and officiate today's webinar. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, sawadikap. Yang kami hormati Profesor Riri Fitri Sari, Chairperson of UI GreenMetric, Prof Hendrik bin Lamsali, President of IMT-GT Varsity Council, para Wakil Rektor Universitas Sumatera Utara, the Honorable Prof. Dr. Peter Mcclenaghans, Dr. Nur Ajura Arrahman, dan Dr. Diana Halil, yang saya hormati juga seluruh peserta webinar pada pagi hari ini dari berbagai perguruan tinggi yang ada di bergabung di dalam IMT-GT. Terima kasih atas dukungan dari semuanya sehingga webinar pada pagi hari ini dapat kita laksanakan. Hari ini kita akan membicarakan lesson learned dari pandemi COVID-19 yang telah memaksa kita semua untuk menjaga jarak, belajar dan bekerja dari rumah melalui pembelajaran online. Pendekatan yang secara signifikan mengurangi kebiasaan kita menggunakan kertas. Namun proses perubahan tersebut berlangsung hampir tanpa persiapan, lebih sebagai respon dari pandemi COVID-19. Sehingga banyak dari kita mempelajari sambil melaksanakannya. Kita menghadapi berbagai isu di sana-sini dalam upaya untuk mencapai hasil yang optimal. Kita akan mendengarkan contoh empiris pada kasus Universitas Sumatera Utara dan UUM dan pendekatan yang telah dilaksanakan sekitar 8 tahun lalu di University of New England oleh keempat pembicara kita. Terima kasih banyak kepada seluruh pembicara. Webinar ini merupakan kolaborasi UI GreenMetric dan IMT-GT Youth Varsity, di mana USU merupakan bagian erat dalam kedua forum tersebut. Bentuknya merupakan perpaduan seminar dan workshop yang diharapkan akan mampu mencakup pembahasan konsep dan panduan praktis untuk mengimplementasikan konsep tersebut. Terima kasih banyak atas dukungan Prof. Riri sebagai Chairperson UI GreenMetric. Terima kasih banyak atas dukungan Presiden IMT-GT Profesor Hendrik. Semoga kerjasama yang erat ini akan mendorong gerakan kampus hijau dan generasi muda yang peduli kelestarian lingkungan di sekitarnya. Dengan mengucapkan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, webinar ini dengan resmi saya nyatakan dibuka. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Setinggi-tinggi penghargaan dan terima kasih kepada Bapak Rektor atas ucapan sebentar tadi. Once again, Prof. Rector, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's move to the next session, presentation by the invited speakers. Please welcome our webinar moderator, Major Associate Professor in Senior Technologies, Dr. Mohd Hazizan Mohd Hashim from University Science Malaysia. Over to you, Doctor.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Dr. Ismail from UIGM. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bapak Rector Universitas Sumatera Utara, Prof. Dr. Runtung, Prof. Dr. Riri Fitri Sari, the UI GreenMetric Chairpersons, the President of IMT-GT, Associate Professor Dr. Hendrik, Lamsali, and also to our beloved invited speakers, 4 of them actually, Dr. Diana, Madam Nur Azura, Prof. Ir.Dr. Bustami, and as well will be Dr. Peter from the University of New England, Australia. So we have 4 prominent speakers within 1.5 or maybe 2 hours maximum. We'll be definitely be invited and divided the program or the session into the 2 main programs. The first one is the presentation from the prominent speakers with their respective fields of expertise. And soon after, we may proceed with the discussion as well with this question Q&A sessions. So I think we can wrap up it around maybe 10 before 1 o'clock in the Jakarta times. So without further ado, I would like to invite our first speakers, Dr. Diana Shalil, the USU Green Campus team, as well as the chairman of the seminar committee for the IMT-GT, with a topic of opportunities from the COVID-19 pandemics, being a greener through online and e-learning methods. Just before I pass over the baton to Dr. Diana, please allow me to read through a brief history and CV on Dr. Diana experience. Dr. Diana obtained her doctoral degree from the University of Sydney in agricultural economics, and also holds the master's from USU, and completed her study in undergraduate from the Department of Agri Business from the ITB. She holds a very vast experience, especially in environmentals and inclusivity and sustainability fields. She holds a chairman for the seminar committee for the IMT-GT annual Youth Varsity Carnivals. She also a founder and coordinator of the consortium study on the smallholder palm oil for the Indonesian, Malaysian islands, a member of Indonesian Sustainable Palm Oil Platforms, a writer of Inclusive and Sustainable Smallholding in Palm Oil Supply Chain book, also being ASEAN Movement Leadership Programs, coordinator for education, and also the coordinator for the collaborative USU IPOA team for the palm oil study program establishments. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Diana for her speech. Please welcome Dr. Diana.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Today I would like to share some case in Universitas Sumatera Utara, just to show the potential, empirical potential that we can make being a greener through online and e-learning methods. Okay, why we choose the e-learning? Because one of the influencing factors to the environment is are papers, and papers are mostly likely to be related to the forest. As we can see that for one tree, it can produce around 12,000 sheets or papers. Of course, we know that for the papers, there are lots of usage for the papers. And today we particularly are going to talk about the printing and writing. And from the pie chart, we can see that printing and writing still take a significant portion of the whole usage in the world, around 26% of the total usage of papers. We know that it's not all being produced through the whole trees and other plants, still recycle papers and wood clips, scraps from sawmills. But unfortunately, we can see for these particular things that we are talking about, the printing and writing is only around 8%. That is so little comparing to others. That's why today we would like to learn from all speakers that maybe we can do something to optimize the e-learning so we can reduce the usage of printing and writing papers. And we conducted a small survey in Universitas Sumatera Utara that involving 16 faculties with 113 lecture samples and 232 student samples. We are doing that by online Google Form, of course, because we cannot interview people directly. And then we did it in May to August 2020. For this certain analysis, we are covering 3 activities that we think can be controlled by the university to make a change. It consists of lectures, students' thesis completion, and lecturers' research. From the survey, we got these figures that on average, it's in each semester, the average credit per students per semester is around 24. And then the average credit in each lecture is 3, and the average courses in each semester is 8. And each course use more than 100 pages. And with the average number of students per year in Universitas Utara, that is more than 40,000, we got a total sheets per year from lectures is around almost 70 million seats per year. That is the one we estimate used during the face-to-face learning method, which we think could be changed or reduced if we use the e-learning method. And then the second one is using the paper usage during the students' thesis completion. We got average number of papers per revision is more than 102. And on average, the students need more than 7 times of revisions. Taking the average number of students per graduation, that is 2,500 in USU, and we have 4 times of graduation per year. We got and we estimate the total paper usage almost 8 million sheets per year. And from lecturer research, because not only students here in USU, maybe same in all universities all over the world, we have lecturer research as well. This is not all the lecturer research, but the one that directly can be controlled by USU in terms of submission and everything. In this particular part, we have an average number of titles funded more than 700 for these 3 current years. And each of the titles need to submit at least 18 reports for each title. It consists of 3 copies from the proposal, and then the revised proposal, progress report, finance, 70% final report, final report, and 30% of finance report. And in each report, we got average number of seats around 53. With that numbers, we estimate the total sheets per year from the lectures research is around almost 700,000 sheets per year. But of course, we have a wide range answers from each of the respondents. So although we got that kind of number, we still have to mention that this need to be interpreted with caution. For example, for the lectures, we have a range of 2 until 500 seats per lecture from the respondents' answers, and the students also got a wide range answer for the usage of paper each lecture. And the same thing happened, although it is not as much as the lecturer. We have a number of revision up to 20 and the number of seats per revision up to 500. We already mentioned that the respondent come from 16 faculties, so it very much depends on what kind of scope and area they are working on. And the lecture research report also have a variation, not as much as the students, but still have a wide range of variations. So, but the most important thing that although we can, of course, continuing the survey to get a more accurate number, but the most important thing that that shows that we got opportunity to reduce paper usage at a single university. Only for this USU example, as Prof. Riri mentioned that GreenMetric covers 780 university. We can imagine how this can be a big movement if we all commit to this kind of reducing paper program. Even in one USU example, we can reduce around 78 million seats per year if we totally do it by e-learning. We can hear that is possible later on from Peter, and it's covered only for 3 different activities, while there are many other different activities, including the letters, documents, and other administration things in university. So this is big because even for the EPN report from a big company like Vodafone, they can reduce the papers usage around 33 million seats that equal to more than 3,000 trees, while here we can do it more if we really use 100% of e-learning. So, but of course, we are really aware that this is not easy, especially we do it in a very short period. We are pushed to do it by ourselves because of this pandemic time. There are still obstacles to overcome that. The first one is unstable internet connection. We are lucky today, I think not too bad. And the second one is the lecturers and students' competence. We are not very familiar with this one. And sometimes we are still using the same material, the same method to do it online, although it's designed to face-to-face approach. And we have some difficulties to understand. Students still find it's difficult to understand because they cannot directly ask. There are less interaction, and one of the significant problem is the piling up assignment. Lecturers tend to give assignment to cover the gaps for interactions. And of course, there are extra expenditure to support the gadget and internet costs. Also have done many things to address that kind of problems, especially to improve the facilities. We have improved the e-learning online conference facilities, and also give free access to also e-learning, providing internet connection funding for students, and providing 24/7 IT team. But we are still not really focused on the pedagogical side, the one to overcome the lecturers and students' competence. But of course, we are aware that we don't want, we are proposing this e-learning, but we don't want some options that have bad impact for both options. We avoid the neither thing, for example, like choosing plastic or paper or gadget. That's why later on in the future, maybe we need to assess both for each of the option, the known and unknown impacts. For example, there are studies that comparing the LCA of books. The comparison is the energy or climate change cost of paper and electronic activities, and a drawing conclusion about how many ebooks need to be read on an e-reader before the unit energy costs are less than the paper options. I think that gives us hope. Let's do the IT. Let's do it. Let's do it together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Diana. There's a lot of numbers of trees, 6,500 if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
You see, for USU alone. Right, ladies and gentlemen, ibu-ibu, bapa-bapa, hadirin sekalian, before we proceed with our next presenter, Madam Azura, I wish to read through CV. Right, Madam Nur Azura binti Abdul Rahman is currently a lecturer at the School of International Study, University Utara, Malaysia. She holds a Master of Art in International Relations from the Flinders University of South Australia. Currently, she is working on her doctoral thesis under the supervision of the Professor Dr. Christopher N. Weller from the Institute of Orient and Asian Study, Germany. She has been taught quite a number of subjects and papers, including the international environmental policy, international laws, issue and of international laws, as well as the modern world history. Madam Azura also holds a number of administrative jobs, such as the principal for the students' residential halls in the Trade Winds, Bank Rakyat, Bank Simpanan Nasional, and currently she holds back the post of the principal for the student residential halls for the Bank Rakyat. She has worked in various departments, such as the policy division in the Ministry of Defense during her internships way back in 2003, Department of the National Service, Kuala Lumpur, until 2004, and currently hold the post of the lecturer since the 2005 until now. So without further ado, Madam Azura, the audience is yours, and please welcome.
Thank you so much, Prof. Hazizan. Honorable professors, Prof. Riri, Prof. Runtung, and Prof. Hendrik. And now I'm sharing my PowerPoint slide. Okay. All right. So basically, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum, selamat pagi, selamat siang, and good morning to all. Honor and distinguished speakers as well today. And I'm so delightful for the offer or invitation to give or share my experience with UUM on designing e-learning at universities. So basically today I will only share on what are the moves or what are the actions done by UUM in order to prepare for the e-learning in order to comply with the Ministry of Higher Education of Malaysia. And as for today, I will only because luckily recently I joined workshop series done by the University Teaching and Learning Center of UUM, and that is the most unforgettable experience, and I think a very comprehensive and exciting experience in order to design as an academician. You know, it's very worth joining. Okay. And online learning in Malaysia, I think it is everywhere that online learning is not an easy task for all academicians to get in touch with. Okay, and the skills are very demanding effort for every of us to learn and updates with all the technologies and also following the students of our new generations, because if you ask your father or your mother or your grandmother how to handle the I don't know, WebEx or WhatsApp, sometimes they also need time to learn. So it same goes to us, because we are from different generations. Okay. And about I think I will click the next slide. Hold on. Okay. And this is what I'm going to talk on today. All right. As for the first module that I joined is interactive digital learning. Okay, and UTLC UUM offered the interactive digital learning to focus on the interactive format and digital tools that can be used by educators to ensure effective teaching and learning. And at this, on the second series, they introduced various digital learning tools in the 21st century so that all the academicians are well aware of each of the techniques and gadgets or software that can be used, particularly in order to design for presentation, assessments, and videos. Okay. And participants in this module, they need to submit the task given during the program, and at times they need to present their work in order to get comments from the instructors. Okay. And another module is the nurturing, engage, and experienced learners. Okay, and NEIL, or we call it as NEIL, offers 2-day series program, and NEIL show us the concepts or keeps us aware on the concepts of learning engagement and introduce basic tools such as interactive learning and case study. Instructors of NEIL discuss on students' background and how to choose suitable approach to engage diverse learners. Because in class, we have different students which have different capabilities, such as audio, visual, or a mixture of both. And then the instructors will also show us how to be engaged in a reflective practice, and then monitoring students' learning and motivation. So we as lecturers, is not a one-way engagement in class, so we need both participation. And then participants are also given chance to reflect on each other courses taught and receive feedbacks from the instructors. So we are given the chance to talk with the instructors and sort of like a personal tutor. Okay, next is the third module. Is quite astonishing for newbies like me, okay, as it requires participants to be creative and inventive on the courses taught. Problem-based learning, we call it, is a program offers to encourage learners to participate actively throughout the learning process and places partial explicit responsibility for the students' shoulder for their own learning. So we have to create and think of, for each of the, not syllabus, but for each of the content of the syllabus, sort of like a project. So we call it a project design, okay? Because students will get quite boring if it is just a lecturing style of lecture. So we need to create such like games, role play, or maybe quizzes online in order for students to obtain the course learning outcome. And the most challenging part in problem-based learning is will be probably during the stage of project design, because we need to come out with creative ideas and advocating strategies for making the project in line with the course learning outcome. And the last one will be alternative assessment. Okay, for we know that when we teach in class, we give students assessments. So these assignments or assessments need rubrics. So that is why UTLC prepared the academicians or lecturers to know how to develop their rubrics. And assessments, including whole formative or summative type of assessments, and alternative assessments also offers us 2 series of module. And the first one is that they need to participants need to reflect on the current assessment practices and their later constructively plan and alternative assessment for their own course. And the second one is they are given the chance to experience outdoor activities, because one of the session, the instructors bring us outside in order to have an outdoor activities, okay, because they need to showcase to us that they also implement a very interesting alternative assessment, okay. And finally, during alternative assessment also, participants are given the chance to learn from sharing experience, a complete alternative assessment based on the special award of the Education Minister of Malaysia. This is a special award by the Minister of Education in order to motivate the educators in Malaysia to gain award by their creativity and innovation. Okay, and this award also is to stimulate and share the best practices of thinking and redesigning in Malaysia higher education institutions. All right, for all these modules offered by the UTLC UM are very comprehensive and insightful for all academicians to transform the teaching and learning, particularly during this pandemic era and uncertainties. Participants will experience hands-on tutorial in order to get familiarized with all tools, and in fact are given the chance to prepare an actual project for the upcoming semesters. Hence, academicians should take this opportunity to commit with the programs, you know, because it takes time, okay, and effort as well with the programs, and keep motivated until the end. All right, besides that, what UTLC done for us in order to design such e-learning in university, another two important tasks by UTLC, the University Teaching Learning Center UUM, which related to the designing of e-learning at the university, are the management of the online learning platforms and the course evaluation. The UTLC's UUM task still related to the online learning system, and that is the online learning platform offered by the university. One of their KPI is to report on the achievement of the UUM strategic plan, namely achievement of blended learning. So lectures need to be blended, okay, and open courseware, OCW, and massive open online courses as well, because UUM also offers MOOCs. UTLC also has to cultivate the use of technology in learning and teaching in line with the national e-learning policy of the Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia. And also UTLC has to manage and ensure the implementation of the e-service, we call it, or the course evaluation offered in university academic programs, and report on the course evaluation achievement status. So e-service is a platform where students are given the chance to measure the facilities and services offered at the university during the process of learning. Students are also required to access e-service through the university portal and complete the survey on certain period given. I can give you another example, and this is what it looks like. I don't know whether it is clear enough, because it contains part A and part B. Part A contains teaching delivery, so students need to give their skills, evaluation on assessments given by lecturers. So if they are happy with the assessments, you know, like some of them don't like too many assignments or individual or group assignments, guidance and consultation. If the lecturers are not entertaining them with consultation, they might give them, you know, a lower scale, and then general comments. Part B contains evaluation on the course content syllabus, whether they are happy enough with the content of the course. Okay, this is one example of our online learning. It used to, you know, actually the main platform is Moodle, if you have heard that. No? So, but then the name changes from time to time, from Learning Zone to Learning Care, and then now we call it as online learning. All right. And I also receive feedbacks as an academician. I also receive feedbacks of my own teaching, and then I reflect that in order to make a betterment for my next semesters in terms of teaching and learning. And it is very challenging because suddenly in March we close the university for the movement control order MCO, and we need to rethink and prepare in such a time we don't have much to transform everything 100% to online learning. So it is quite challenging for me as well. All right. So I think that is all what I can share with you. So I give the floor back to our moderator. Thank you.
Thank you again, Madam Azura, for her sharing session with the designing e-learning in university. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, since the beginning of the COVID pandemic in the late December 2019, one of the most affected sector was the education. So the COVID-19 has resulted in the schools as well with the university shut across the world. So it is estimated globally over 1.3 billion children in over 186 countries are out of the classroom. As a result, the education has changed dramatically with the distinctive rise of e-learning, whereby teaching is undertaken remotely and on digital platform, or we so-called the e-learnings. So e-learning is defined as a learning system based on the formalized teaching but with the help of electronic resources. While teaching can be based in or out of the classroom, the use of computer and the internet to form the major component of e-learning. So e-learning can also be termed as the network enables transfer of skill and also the knowledge. And the delivery of the education is made to a large number of recipients at the same times or at different times. So earlier, it was not accepted wholeheartedly, as it was assumed that this system lack of human element required in the learning. However, with the rapid progress in the technology and the advancement in the learning system is now embraced by the masses, especially during this current pandemics. So I think we are inviting our next speakers, Prof. Ir.Dr. Bustami Syam, who will elaborate more on these e-learnings findings with his title, The Application of the E-Project Based Learning Method for the Engineering Educations. So just a few short brief on Dr. CV. Okay, Prof. Dr. Bustami was born in October 1st, 1957. It's almost the same with our Malaysian independence years. So he's been married. I'm not sure how many children he have, but his hobby is playing golf and also Shotokan Karate Do. I'm not sure whether this is kind of a hobby or what, but somehow this is his hobby, doing the golfing and also with his Karate Do. Prof. Bustami obtained his doctorate degree under the divisions of Mechanical and System Engineering from Japan. With his title of a measuring method for impact tensile strength and impact fracture behavior of brittle materials. He also holds the master programs in mechanical engineering, way back in 1990 from the US or Department of Mechanical Engineering, Ohio University, Athens. Dr. Bustami have a very vast experience and trainings, especially in English training at the ITIP Malang, Ohio Program Intensive English at Ohio Universities, IT-related training program organized by the JICA, been hold a position of visiting researcher at STUT Japan, the IT management training for the higher education, Saga University Japan, also as a visiting professor at the Tokyo Institute of Technology, Tokyo, Japan. Prof. Bustami, research interest is more towards the engineering base on the mechanical parts, or such as the impact strength of engineering materials, the damage mechanism, failure analysis, concrete form, composite material, just to read some of them. We also have a very vast experience in community services, like I can read this through. A team leader or instructor for the basic engineering knowledge, right? Instructor for the technical report in writing and business communications, technical writing for the Faculty of Technology in Indonesia, as well with this reviewer for the research proposals for the LPDP Kemenku RI in 2013. He also has worked tremendous part of this entire education experience way back from 1990 until now. So he also received numbers of awards like the Sakyang in China from the President of the Republic Indonesia in 1999, as well with 2005, Excellent Paper Awards, the Dosen Teladan, the Best Presenter Awards, and as well with the Peneliti Terbaik in bidang riset teknologi pemaparan hasil riset hibah bersaing. So without further ado, please welcome Prof. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Very long but nice introduction, Mr. Moderator. Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Professor Peter Mcclenaghans, Honorable Professor and our Rector, Professor Runtung here, and Professor Riri Fitri Sari, our now become our friend in GreenMetric affairs. And Honorable Professor Hendrik, Dr. Diana, the star of this webinar, Dr. Noor, and you know, I also see that many participants, not only from Zoom webinar, but also from viewed from YouTube. My name is Bustami Syam, and the logo with the red and yellow is my YouTube channel. So everyone can make a change. So let's make a change during the pandemic COVID-19 right now. Today I'll talk about the application of e-project-based learning method for engineering education, but actually we can apply, as told by Dr. Noor, that this is applicable for all learning education e-learning problem. But today, based on my experience, I'll talk on how we apply the PBL for engineering education. Yeah, right now we have a very severe effect due to the pandemic, especially to the, if you see the right side is the parameter made by Prof. Riri and team, SUE GreenMetric world ranking, sustainable campus world ranking criteria, content of 6 criteria. But the most severe that affect our education right now, our campus right now, is at the beginning is education and research. You know, this is a blessing that right now we have a very good air, yeah. All over the world, you know, we reduce papers, we reduce gas, everything we reduce. But the problem is that we cannot meet with our students because of this pandemic. So e-learning or distant learning or virtual education is solution. So as engineer, my job or engineer's job is to design and to solve the problem. In order to solve the problem, we have to have create something. We create machine, building of manufacturing, robot, energy system, fabrication of artificial organ, anything. You know, we closely work together with medical doctors in biomedical engineering for fabrication of artificial organ. And then the engineers should have also a very strong basic on math and science and technology, because otherwise we cannot solve the problem. And then also we have, engineers should have also the knowledge and skill how to use the engineering software, numerical software like finite element, boundary element, etc. But don't forget that we also have the knowledge of society and inner creativity, so that we can come up with a solution to create for good into this global society. Now I'll talk about the project-based learning. It's actually, we can say it, Pro-BL model or P3L model. The first P stands for problem, as already mentioned by previous speakers. And then we have project-based learning, and then product or practice-based learning. So all three should be arranged in what we call it student-centered learning. We already know that another PBL, professor-based learning, or TCL, teacher-centered learning or professor-centered learning. What is the difference? The difference is that if we conduct as usual or conventional way that professor-centered learning, the professor has a very strong authority in a class, that he is, professional teachers, for instance. So student has just right to hear, and he is the boss. But not in the student-centered learning, using the problem or project or product-based learning, so that we can have a different objective. The model is based around the following learning principle. First of all is active learning. What we mean by active learning is that we instruct student. Of course, we need that we have to teach a student with oh, sorry. Sorry, I forgot to share screen. Here. Sorry, thank you, Ida. Thank you very much. Sorry, I forgot to share my screen. Okay, here we go. Yeah, we start with active learning. So tutorial is needed, and then we and then we do collaborative learning, either self-directed or team-based, usually team-based, and then integrative learning, interdisciplinary knowledge and in terms of knowledge and skill. So not only on one subject, but we also consider many subjects and work together to produce a product. Let me give you an example what I have done in our laboratory, but this is actually originated from a project-based learning from my class, engineering design, mechanical engineering design. Number one is the horseshoes made of composite material. Number two is cover bomb made of concrete form. We use palm trees. And then this is Kerucut Lalu Lintas is one of marker. So yeah, we have many product, tiles, even golf balls, we produce. And then more recently, how we obtain sustainable energy from speed bump power generation. We call it energy harvesting. So it's already available in our campus right now in my lab. And we obtain, electricity from the speed pump power generation, and the research is still progress also. Flashback to 2009, when I teach mechanical engineering design. This guy right here, he is my student. 3 of them are my student. This is my son. At that time, I make a problem how to make a putter machine. In golf, we need to have a putter, right? So they create a machine, small tool, but unfortunately, during the presentation, it didn't work. So 5th place, okay? But very interesting. This is all the participants. This guy is now taking, I think, doctor degree in our university, also in Japan. But finally, this guy who got the 5th place, finally he is the leader to get the 1st place in Manila Shell Eco Marathon. That is the power of the project-based learning. From we start small and then big. That's the power. That is the spirit. So in the curriculum, we have to have certain courses. Maybe we cannot put all courses using the project-based learning. So in our mechanical engineering curriculum, we have mechanical engineering design and mechanical engineering capstone design. So as a checklist, we have to know what is the project idea. What is the time frame proposed? Is it 1 semester? Is it 1 year? Something like that. Manageable or not? Okay. Between you and your class or teachers or involve teachers from other countries. We can do that. I can work together with, for instance, Professor Ahmad Kamal Arifin from UKM for a project, or another professors in the state or Japan. We can do that. Sekarang namanya Kampus Merdeka by our Mas Menteri. And then because we work together with other professors in other countries, in Russia or wherever, and then we have to say what working language of the project we are going to use. Yeah. And then what subject could be integrated into the project, because not only single subject. And then what technical tool, if any, we'll use. What are the planning stages relation to the school year? We put together there. And then we have to check 7 steps of the successful project-based learning. So we have to involve our student from the beginning, from the class. So in my case, I divided the student into 6 students in a group. So from the beginning, and then break down the topic into well-defined tasks. Plan well, set goal, define outcome, what we are going to have. And then working group. And very importantly, in step 5, that what is the outcome? What is the tangible artifact that student can show in the presentation after making a conclusion of their project. This is the group in my class that I divided in 6 per group, 6 students per group. So we start with the problem. So we have any problem like this, maybe one of the car jump into the, what do we call it? I don't know, like this. Because, why? Because there is no cover of the drainage. It's open conduit. So how to solve it, this one? And then my student in a class, first of all in class, and then go to the project, come out with, okay, we have to make a cover. How many model? Type 1 like this, type 2 like this. So what is the spec that we should have? The type of conduit cover have to function well. Not only for, you know, if the car pass onto the parking bumper, but it has to be very strong also. So what is the spec? So we set up from the beginning. So what is the material we are going to use? Something like that. And then they come up with physical and mechanical properties. Of course, we use a research laboratory to test the specimen. And then come up with this one, the design. If we use concrete, how much cement that we use, how about sand, water, how to make together. And to make it light, we have to use foaming agent. So what kind of foaming agent? And to make it strong, we have to use the fiber. So here we use the fiber from, you know, we call it tandan kosong kelapa sawit, itu empty fruit bunch, yeah. Empty fruit bunch. And then we set up the production procedures. So this is, we do it with student in a group. And then we come up with a product that is free 3BL. First is type 1 and second is the type 2. And then what we have is we have to test not only in the laboratory, but also we have to, you know, in the field. So at the end, a student, you know, have in mind that they innovate something. They have an invention. I think that's the benefit of having the project-based learning in class. The problem is that now we can meet each other. So what we can do using the e-learning education system, using the Zoom or other e-learning processes for the instruction, we can use that platform. And to meet 6 or 10 people, I think can be admitted with certain very severe COVID-19 protocol. So I think this is possible even in right now in the pandemic of the COVID area. We can discuss later on, and I'm happy to answer questions from the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof, for the delightful and very informative sharing sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now running into our last presenter, Dr. Peter Mcclenaghans. Dr. Peter is a senior lecturer from the business school from the University of New England. He holds his qualifications for the Bachelor of Art in the UNE, as well the PhD at the same university. Dr. Peter also is a master coach for the leading, managing, and coaching by values, a certified practitioner in the crucial conversations, a certified practitioner in the ISC and emotional intelligence from the DTS Internationals. He has been teaching organizational behaviors and leadership for 20 years in the University of New England Business School of Australia, the ESADE Business School back in the Barcelona, Spain, as well with the School of Economics and Business in Tartu, Estonia. Dr. Peter carry his consulting and research interests revolve around the value-centered leadership, with a particular focus on emerging leadership developments, and also love his job and UNE and has taught online for the past 7 years, sorry for my wrong. Peter also has successfully supervised 4 completed PhD candidates since 2015, and currently he co-supervising around 9 masters and doctoral students from 2019 onwards. He received Woolworth SIFP Australia Most Outstanding Mentor twice, way back in 2004 and 2007, as well as the Commonwealth Postgraduate Research Award in 1997. So with his topic titles, the University Support System and Pedagogical Aspect in Improving E-Learning. So I pass the baton to Peter. Thank you and welcome, Peter.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I am assuming people can now see my screen. I'm going to shrink my camera. So thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon or this morning. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the respective leaders, institutional leaders who have supported today's webinar. And I'd also like to thank Dr. Diana Chalil for her encouragement for me to participate today. I'm quite happy for people to ask questions during my presentation. And I would ask you to forgive my Australian English if it's difficult to follow at times. I'll try and speak relatively slowly as I talk through this exercise. So I'll just put myself on PowerPoint mode and I'll start my presentation. I believe I have about 30 minutes to go through with this presentation. So thanks once again, everybody.
Sorry, Dr. Peter.
Yes.
Some audience are asking for a louder voice. Could you please make it? Yep. Yeah.
Okay. I will.
Sorry for that.
My volume is turned it up now. Is that better?
I think it's better. It's better now.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's my humility and my humble nature that I speak too softly. Okay, I'm speaking up. So thank you once again for all the institutional leaders and academics who are sponsoring today's webinar. And I also want to acknowledge the encouragement and support of Dr. Diana Chalil, who has been instrumental in inviting me to participate today. So my heading is Effective Environmental Practices while Managing and Learning Online. And I want to talk a little bit about the University of New England as a case study, because we've been involved in online teaching since 2010, but we've been a distance education leader for over 60 years. Most of the students, as you'll see, who study at the University of New England are actually not on our campus. They're spread out across Australia and internationally. So I'm going to outline my presentation for you now. A little bit about UNE, because it's important to feeding into information about how we're coping with COVID and how we deliver online education and how that can lead to a more sustainable business model and a sustainable environmental business model. So it's quite a beautiful campus, as you can see. I'm going to talk a little bit about some data about the cost savings from our online teaching. I want to introduce you to some of our teaching practice in 2020 and the particular context that the University of New England teaches in an online context. And if I have time, I will take us through very briefly a couple of illustrations of what our Moodle site looks like that we teach in. So I'm just, from time to time, I'll check the chat boxes, which are in Bahasa. And I think I'll talk a little bit about some conclusions, outcomes and conclusions. So the background, it's important for what follows. So we've, as I said, we've been a distance education leader for over 50 years. And for the last 10 years, we've invested heavily in online delivery of our courses. In addition to that, we've been recognized for our online teaching and delivery excellence, and we've been rated the #1 university in Australia for online delivery on many occasions, and we are the second largest online university in Australia. And we excel in the areas of arts, business, education, and science. And our course satisfaction and graduation salaries, amongst other things, annually, some of the highest in Australia. So we're not just delivering online, and we haven't for some time, but what we're delivering has been exceptionally highly rated. I'll just move my toolbar. And in 2019, UNE achieved 5 stars for learner engagement, teaching quality, overall student experience, and student support. Now, those rankings are important because 85% of our students are actually only online. So whatever we're delivering for the last 10 years, it's been rated very highly every year. My toolbar again. We handle over 100,000 inquiries a year, but no paper-based inquiries. Our application process is all online and is not paper-based. We have over 20,000 students studying currently online, although in fact nearly 100% of our students are actually studying online at the moment because of COVID, but 100% of our students have access to all our teaching resources. All teaching is video recorded, whether it's on campus or online, and that all feeds into the student learning portal. And this, for the last few years, we've been using Moodle, and we will continue to use Moodle for the next 2 years, we think. So everything is visually recorded. Almost all assessment is online. It doesn't look like that photograph. In fact, as I'll state shortly, all our examinations soon will be entirely online. So almost everything that our students do in terms of their assessment, whether it's PBL or individual based, it's online. Our Moodle sites, individual student Moodle sites, are linked directly to our behind the scenes student databases. So I have no paper forms to fill in during the year. Everything that I complete as a class or teaching coordinator is done online. All my student grades are stored online and they go to the central database electronically. And from 2022, trying to find a home for that toolbar. From 2022, all UNE examinations will be online. That's every single student will only be allowed to study and sit an exam online. So what does that mean? Well, I have a figure coming up. It might be a bit difficult to read, and I apologize, but I can talk to it. So the cost savings in one area of our budget relates to our online paper-based traditional exams, which we've been having since 1947. But for the next few years, as I said, we're migrating to online only. We teach in 3 trimesters per year, and you may not be able to read the numbers, but the purple line across the second row from the bottom, that indicates what it's costing us currently, and we're now in T2 2020, $604,000 for online exams and $813,000 for paper only. Now, the online exam costs are going to actually be significantly reduced because we're negotiating with the online provider to actually at least halve what we have to pay for their services to run our online exams. So year in, year out, the cost saving is between 50% and 70% of costs for running paper-based versus online exams. And remember, we run paper-based, traditionally paper-based exams have been run all around the world. So we have to organize exams in different countries. We have to organize rooms. We have to organize people to invigilate the exams. It can be quite expensive. Savings occur in a number of ways for the institution. Firstly, feedback to students and results are significantly faster. Within 24 hours, an exam result will be in the system, as opposed to up to 4 weeks. I'm sorry about the amount of text in this next bit, but significant reductions are occurring in the time to organize assessment, particularly exams. The costs of hiring rooms for holding exams, we don't have to do that anymore. The student can sit an exam anywhere they like, they choose, as long as they have a laptop connected to the internet and a camera and a link to our online invigilation software. The invigilation is the security checking of the exam. Postage and packaging of exam material out to students and the returning of those exam scripts is now being reduced to close to zero, and we don't require the 5 staff to do that anymore. They're now doing other things. Printing and paper costs at UNE this year, paper costs are down 94%, and that's driven by COVID, but that has not had any impact on our ability to teach and deliver to our students. So paper costs for 2020 compared to this time last year are 94% down, which would be close to $300,000-400,000, maybe $500,000. But then that also equates to a number of trees. One of the savings really, because through our online delivery of classes, is that students have now got much greater flexibility and they can access the university at various stages through their inquiry all the way through to graduation. It's pretty much an online experience, and there are a number of contact points digitally that allow the student much greater flexibility. We have a reduced need for capital infrastructure. We don't need to build as many buildings. Now, on campus, we have 4,000 students. We don't see a need to have 10,000 students on campus. We're coping quite well with teaching online, so we don't have to invest too much in future building. We have a lot less of this, and we have much more of this. Our students are enjoying during COVID some of the benefits of being able to spend more time with their family, but also continue to study online. So that's one of the advantages as well. You can study online anywhere, providing the software and the hardware are compatible. We don't need to spend as much money on power, lighting, heating. They also have environmental impacts as well, of course. And paper, I haven't used paper in my teaching. I can't remember when I last marked a paper-based assignment, project report, or exam report. And that includes PhD and master's theses. All our masters and PhDs now submit online. So even those documents don't require paper anymore. So no more of that. I have an office just along the corridor from me that used to be full of that, and it's now empty of that. And that means there's more trees. Yay, it's great. And as I said earlier, far less of the paper, far more trees as a consequence of what we're doing this year. The dedication to excellence in teaching online is one of the characteristics that's driven UNE's success in the online space. And so the first point in this respect I'd like to make is that transferring from a face-to-face on-campus experience to an online experience is not simply a matter of transferring what it is you taught and how you presented it in class on campus. and just uploading that into Moodle or into whatever platform you're using. It requires a lot more investment and thinking and investment in money and commitment from everyone in the institution. If you're going to go this direction with online teaching, then it does require significant investment from the top, and it has to filter all the way down. And I'll just now take you through some data or some information about how that happens for us. Just check the chat box to see if there's anything I need to. Yes, you can. Anyone can have my slides. They'll be available for anyone. I'm happy to share my slides. I'm just checking the chat box. Okay, so dedicated staff to assist academic staff like me in preparing their online Moodle sites. We have both a central body of people funded out of the central budget, and we also have faculty budgets, independent faculty budgets as well. And so we have dedicated staff in the institution who assist us all in preparing our online Moodle sites. So that's the architecture. We also have staff dedicated to helping our pedagogical development. And each school, there are 10 academic schools, also have dedicated staff separate to the Moodle site design staff for pedagogy. Additionally, we have hardware and software professional development for all academic staff. So new staff coming on campus who haven't used Zoom before have dedicated people to help them develop their skills in using something like Zoom to help develop and present better content online. But there's a bit more. Hardware and software investment for all staff, professional and academic, is significant. UNE has invested significant money over the last 10 years to ensure that the hardware we're using and the software we're using is contemporary and is best fit for purpose. So that kind of technology has been really, really supported. Right. A question I've been asked by some people, and Diana is one of the people that's been asking me this, is how do you engage with people online and how do you know they're successfully staying engaged? You know, it's a difficult answer to quantify, but I'll give you my best shot at doing this. So how do you improve engagement? Well, the first thing you really need to spend an effort on understanding is to understand who your audience is. What do they look like? Where are they from? What are their characteristics? What are their expectations? So to improve that connectivity online, it's much more important that you invest a bit more time in knowing your target audience. After all, you don't really see them very much, if at all, ever, in fact. So here's a picture of a typical Australian on-campus student audience. Happy little things they are, sitting on some grass, all smiling. They must be some of my students. That's a typical Australian kind of campus picture, sort of. But that's not my student. That's not my student. My student looks like this. Yep. It's the older one in the photo. The typical University of New England student across all our 25,000 students actually is a 32-year-old female who has 2 children, a part-time job, and is studying part-time, and they live probably in Sydney. We have students all over the world, but if you were to measure all our students on a continuum, that woman there sits dead center in the middle as the median kind of representative student. Now we have international students, we have younger people, and we have older people, and we have men. But the median UNE student is that. Someone who's studying part-time, working part-time or full-time, and also raising a family, which creates all sorts of tensions for us as teachers and as a university in meeting the needs of these people. In addition, we have other kinds of students, like this one. We have a significant relationship with the Australian and New Zealand Defence Forces. And so these people, men and women, in the Army, Air Force, and in the Navies, are enrolling in places like UNE because they too can be anywhere in the world and study a UNE degree. Many of my current students in my master's programs fit that kind of profile. And what do they need in 2020? Well, for my students, they want to change something from this domestic goddess, stereotypical woman stuck in the kitchen. Sorry for any cultural insults I might be making now, but that's a very traditional view of feminine role in Australian society, but not anymore. My students want to move from the kitchen to the boardroom. They want to move from their military experience at some point after they serve 10 years or so forth to the boardroom or to business. So the shift is quite significant. They also need access to knowledge. Cool. They need ease of access to knowledge. So your investment in software and hardware and training of your staff is really, really critical. We didn't get to be the #1 online university without investing significantly and making that process more easy for students to access. So it needs to be not just online, but easily accessible online. And I'm not sure if you can see my toolbar, but they also need this. No, they don't really need that. Looks rather ugly. They need this. They also like face-to-face communication. They really do. So we do offer on campus and face-to-face experiences for our students. So somebody's already mentioned a blended kind of learning space, and we do offer that. I do have some on-campus students, and I do run programs off-campus in Sydney and other places. But students of this university like the face-to-face, even if it's virtual face-to-face. And I get feedback every year from my students saying that if they can't come to campus, and that's because they're in a different country, then at least the online presence, live stream classes, which I do every week. My classes are streamed out of my home office. Sometimes my grandson joins in. He's only 5, but he likes to sit and interact. But the students actually like that connection, and I'll explain a little bit about that in a minute. So students want structure because they're online and they're busy, and this is the typical UNE student. They're very, very busy people. They want structure. They want that to be really clearly mapped out for them, but not too complicated. They want clarity on the assessment, and mostly students want to know about assessment. They're concerned about getting grades and good grades for their upgrading their qualifications and so forth. So assessment's critical. I teach everything, by the way, to assessment, but that's all project-based. If you're figuring out how to structure online classes, I wouldn't have more than 30 in a classroom, and Zoom can handle 500, but I can't. So my classes are kept to about 30, and I can use breakout rooms, and I use the chat function to help maintain some kind of interactive experience for students during my weekly classes. So those functions and those kinds of functions exist in other online tools like WebEx and Microsoft Teams and so forth, and Skype. Lots of pictures. If you want to engage, have lots of pictures. One thing you need to understand as well, although I'm doing too much of this today, is to make sure that students are allowed a bit of reflective time in the class. It helps if you're passionate, and it helps if you're funny. Students like academics who can be funny. So I don't often wear something on my head like that cat, but anyway, it helps if you can be funny. And don't be a rule maker and too authoritarian on class experiences. It should be a constructive and an empathetic process. Okay, finally, it's not really, make sure you set the rules of engagement really clearly. How long the class will be, what the rules of behavior are, what's going to be covered. All my students know a week in advance what the next classes will have discussed online and what questions I'm expecting from them. And usually there will be every week some discussion on assessment. I mentioned this earlier, for UNE students, my students, isolation, COVID-driven or otherwise, is not new for UNE. Our students have been online and at a distance for decades. And so for them, the opportunity to interact online in a live video Zoom WebEx, Skype, Microsoft Teams experience is actually really, really important. They love that connectivity. They often feel isolated if they don't get to see their teacher. Well, my students see me every week, even if it is in this space. And they find that actually quite empowering and quite reassuring that they're not out there by themselves in cyberspace somewhere. So isolation for them is the reality, but even Zoom breaks down that sense of isolation, and it does it really successfully. Despite the fact that we're teaching online, we shouldn't ignore the fact that we should be teaching with empathy. We need to recognize that the distance created by COVID and other factors shouldn't mean that we as teachers and leaders in the space shouldn't connect empathetically with the people we're teaching. We should be able to recognize that and demonstrate that empathy. Technology is the tool. It doesn't replace the need for respect and empathy for our students. So technology is great, but it's not, it's a means to an end. It's how we present ourselves. Now, I'm conscious that my time is running out. I was going to take you through my Moodle site, but I think I'm going to actually bypass that and come to my finally bit. So I'm getting close to my time. I'll just check the chat box. So some people are still trying to get my stuff. I'll make my stuff available for anybody. And of course, I'm open to contact via email and whatever in the near future. Finally, I know we're researchers and scientists and academics and students and rectors and university leaders, and we need some data. I'll just give you a small mirror of some of the data that I can present to you today. So I'm comparing some data from one of my classes. It's a trimester 1 class. It's a HR class, a human resource management class. 100% of the students were online last year and this year, and they're all professional people working in organizations, public and private sector organizations. 117 people in that class, and I have weekly breakup classes so that I can teach as many as I can of that 117. Not everyone opts into the classes. My classes aren't compulsory, but they are all video recorded and loaded into my learning platform. So last year, the first assignment, which was a workplace labor supply and demand analysis, very, very pertinent to this year with COVID. The range of scores from those 117 students was 30, a really, really poor result. And each of the students who gets below 50% is required to make contact with me so that we can put in place strategies to develop their skills, to a top score of 90 out of 100. And the average score for that assignment last year was 71%. That's higher than the school average across the board. This year, 115 students, trimester 1, again, a very low score of 30, but a very high score of 96, amazing. And the average has now gone up to 75%. That's a distinction. So my classes, every trimester, we have a board of examiners to review every class's teaching grades and performance. And my grades are normally the highest in the business school. I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I'm just reporting that that's the data. And the reason I think is that I do teach project, it's PBL based and it's also assessment based. So every class has assessment embedded in it. So the students from the first week know exactly what's required for them to navigate through a trimester and to meet the assessment requirements, which ultimately reflects an assessment of a project they've conducted in their own workplace. Student attrition is less than 20%. That might sound a lot, but we take on, our student profile is very, very diverse. And many of our students are first ever from family to study in a university. And many of our students, or our new students, come from very isolated and low socioeconomic backgrounds. So uni, my university, has had a history of supporting students who can't necessarily get accepted into much more higher prestige universities like the one that Dr. Chalil got her PhD from, the University of Sydney. My satisfaction scores for 2019, 4.3 out of 5, and I'll usually average about 4.3, 4.4, 4.5. So despite the fact that it's online, my grades are reflecting that there is some learning happening there of a high level, and all of that learning is moderated. So there are independent analysis and reviews of my grades. So it's not just me. And I'm doing all of that with no paper. So I just don't use paper. I can't remember the last time I had to fill in a piece of paper. So the costs to my school and to the institution are significantly reduced because of that. I want to acknowledge that the reason I'm in the room today with you is partly because of sponsorship from the Australian government, particularly the Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research, who awarded my university and my training team, my consulting team, a project called GreenMetric, which is a gender equity program that has termed the Merrill Williams Fellowship Award. And in that program, I met someone quite fantastic this year, and that was Dr. Diana Chalil. And so I need to thank the federal government, my university, the program that Diana was sponsored to participate in, and the fact that Diana has become a very, very valued friend and colleague. So I need to thank all of those organizations and for Dr. Diana Chalil's support. So thank you very much.
Thank you again, Peter, for the
I'll stop sharing. I'll stop sharing. That's my house. That's not my house. I'll stop sharing.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I hope that wasn't over time.
Surely, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now entering the second sessions, the Q&A sessions, right? We have roughly about 40 to 45 minutes before we end up with our closing ceremonies. For the first round, maybe I would like to ask Dr. Peter the question, right? The budget for all these technology use can be very large compared to the traditional classroom, and it should, right? Therefore, by adding more value to the classroom, such as the redefinitions, what I mean by the redefinition is when the technologies allow for the creations of the new tasks, which were previously unconceivable. So the reason for the lack of redefinitions is in the most cases are the teachers' lack of training and experience with the technologies. So in your point of view, how can we overcome these drawbacks? Peter.
Okay, so I need to make sure I heard your question correctly. So is your question asking me how do we overcome the teachers' lack of skills in?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, well, there are two things I think that are important to think about for moving forward for institutions transitioning to an online space. We have a lot of older academics. In fact, look at me, I'm a really old one, but I really like technology. So we have people who resist the movement to online. We still have some older professors who still find it difficult to transition. However, we don't have an option because it's part of the university's strategic plan to be a leader online. So when we have our individual academic staff performance reviews with our head of department, what we're doing online will be part of the discussion in our annual performance reviews. So all academic staff are reviewed annually on their performance. And part of their performance will be evaluated in terms of their online expertise, what they've done in terms of training, how their pedagogy has changed, how they're delivering an experience for students that fits the contemporary needs of an online student. So the university has invested money from the top down to provide good technology, good software and good hardware, and invest in supporting academic staff. And that's really, I think that's really important. And then that is further embedded in the culture of the institution. We're rated one of the best places to study in Australia. Students who study with us online or face-to-face, every year UNE comes out with a 5-star rating, and we have for 15 years. So the entire time we've been online, we're still regarded as one of the best universities to study in. And that's because our staff are passionate about teaching They're passionate about delivering a great experience for the students. So we have a culture of excellence that staff buy into, and they are supported by the institution. Not everybody will buy in, but mostly people buy in. And it is embedded right down through the system into our own annual performance reviews. So every time I have a discussion with my head of school about what I'm doing next year, there will be discussion about my online work. So it's a natural part of being at UNE. And that's taken 10 years to build.
Right. Thank you, Peter.
Did that answer the question?
Yeah. Okay. To Dr. Diana. Right, Dr. Diana. Since the COVID-19 has forced many universities to adopt the online teaching methods, right? We have some issues, especially for the weaker students who are going to be affected the most. So how would you strike a balance, right, in the way that the lectures are delivered, the online to cater for all the students in area of, especially for the top students, the medium one, the average students, as well as the below average students. So Dr. Diana, can you comment on this?
This is difficult. Honestly, I come with this idea because of this issue as part of the issues. And I discussed this with Peter. But maybe as a start, I just try, of course, we have a general lecture through Zoom, but we all also have an like individual discussion with the students. Maybe because my class is not very early semester class, I know a bit about the student, although I'm not very well in knowing individually each students. But yes, I try just to combine not only the online one, but also online general one, but also with like more personal interaction with WhatsApp, for example, or with emails. They can reach me. But again, it's only work until now for very small class. But once I get a bigger class, I still find difficulties. So yes, I do a bit about that, but still in progress and need to learn more about that.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Diana. To Madam Nur Azura. Yeah, it's clear. Okay. One of the most glaring issues with this our online education is the lack of interpersonal communications. If an online course has any sort of discussion elements, so it's usually written discussion in the form of an online post rather than direct face-to-face communications, right? So for the students who are looking to become successful outside the classroom in any career that require verbal communication skills, right? This could be considered as a significant drawbacks. So how can we resolve this issue?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
Well, I find it also very awkward on the first hand when handling online class 100%. And my students also giving some feedbacks whereby I ask them to send me videos like in 30 seconds telling me what are their experience. Maybe they could share their experiences while online classes. And most of them, they like it, but they don't like it. How can I say that? No? So it's sort like there are pros and cons of that. And one of it, like what you mentioned, is the interpersonal skills. I think from the perspective of the students, the drawback is they don't have the skills, communication skills is getting worsening. Plus, these kinds, not these kinds, but these youth or these generations, they like to spend their time in the bedrooms, mostly if they stay at the residential halls or at the hostels. So the most thing is that they have to make efforts to talk to their group members, or maybe if they go out for meetings, at some times, but remember to wear mask or hence do the precautions of the COVID-19. But yes, they have to build up their communication skills at these times. It's getting worsening, and I can share of my experience as a principal at the student residential hall, whereby when we had the movement control order, students on the first week of the MCO, they love it very much, and they feel very excited on spending their own time at in their own room. And we, as the staffs at the residential hall, feel that we see that they even don't want to come out to take their food, which the ministry, which the university offered them for free. And sometimes some students also ask their friends to take the food for them to bring it to the room. But interestingly, I see the change in the second week, whereby most students coming down and pick up the food and start to talk to each other and start to try to make some group chats at the cafeteria, which they are not allowed to. And they even come and talk to me when they see me and other staffs. When I asked them, they said that, oh, we got so tension, to spend time in our bedrooms and watch movies and play video games. Actually they cannot have it for a longer time. The students can only spend playing with their gadgets in the bedroom. Yes, they can stand it for like 5 hours to 8 hours, but not for the whole month or for the whole year. They still need to do something else. Okay, and I can see their motivations on, they get so tension easily, etc. So we as staffs at the students residential hall keep on motivating them, through WhatsApp, through Instagram, how to manage their emotions during online learning session or online learning, at the moment during this pandemic. Thank you. I hope I answer your question, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah, maybe the others speakers would like to add in or share their, your valuable experience throughout this scenario.
Excuse me, Mr. Moderator, can I chip in something?
Yeah, please, Prof. Hendrik.
I concur with all the presenters. And for Peter, I think not only that you have the experience of doing teaching online for quite some time, but also I think the issue for the Southeast Asian country in terms of the infrastructure, because even among our students, some students, they do not have good connectivity to have more interactive session in the class. And I see that some of the classes where many students have to turn off their camera and only turn on the speaker and so on to just save the or to just ensure that the connectivity are better. But all in all, I think one of the most pressing issue for countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand is we have to improve our infrastructure, especially in terms of internet and connectivity quickly. Otherwise, this will happen where many students will, feel disconnect. Although they are connected, but they're still feeling disconnected because of these connectivity issues. That's the most basic and pressing issues. But otherwise, I agree with all the presenters where if we manage to overcome this infrastructural issue, this connectivity issues, and we go online, mostly online learning, then we can contribute more to our environment, and that's the end goals of our webinar today as well. Online learning is very important, but somehow the transition period, the transition from face-to-face lecture to online must be must be strongly supported by a good infrastructure in our country especially. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, for your comments. Right, to our next presenter, Prof. Bustami. COVID-19 pandemic shut down many universities and the business around the world, right? The millions of people lost their jobs. Some companies even asked for their employees to work from home. And some university or most of the universities currently offer online teaching. So this is some sort of a new experience for the many. So within this scenario, how you foresee that all this going to play out with the future of education? Is there any changes for our education system in the future, Prof? Prof, maybe you should on your, yeah, okay.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me state a very nice statement from Jack Ma. He said that on 2030, almost 85% of the business is e-commerce. So with the COVID-19, we don't have to wait until 2030, I think. So in all business, including education, so we can have alumni, we can graduate our student to have a very good strength in innovation, because innovation should come from invention. But invention, we cannot have invention without research. So the basic of the research should be supported by classes, by professors, by student itself, to sit together, from the class in the lab. But the problem is now we are in tech. We are from our office and our student in their home. So the internet facilities or online education is a must right now. So this is not a new way of teaching. With or without internet, we can use project-based learning, because internet is just a tool, it's just a platform. But the problem is that we have to have much more energy, to motivate students to work together in a group. So schools should put that in the curriculum. Now in Indonesia, we have what we call it Kampus Merdeka by our new Ministry of Education, that actually our students not only centered or enforced or motivated by his or her professors, her lecturers, but there are many platform or lecturers from other means. We have suddenly this month, I become a YouTuber. Why? Because I want to put my material on my channel. So that Zoom, they can use Zoom meeting, only 30 minutes is enough for tutorial. And then they split up and they discuss together. Then we can share offline material from our channels, or using Google Classroom. But the policy of the universities, like I think Australia, University Victoria, New England, Professor Mcclenaghans here, they already do that. With or without internet, is manageable, is applicable. I think so. But the problem is that for the medical, not problem, the medical school, all medical school has used PBL very well. But in other study program, for example, in social, I don't know, in social education, maybe not all practice that kind of methodology. But in our engineering, we use P3 BL a lot right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. We have end up our first round to the individuals' question and comments from our speakers. It turned out to this second round, we may have some ideas from the at least a pair of our speakers, prominent speakers today. So my next questions goes to Madam Nur Azura and Dr. Peter. Right? So it is clear that this pandemic has utterly disrupted an education system that many proclaim was already losing its relevance. So for instance, right, we have the Yuval Noah Harari, the writer of these books, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. He outlined how school continues to focus on the traditional academic skills and memorizing learning system rather than on the skills such as critical thinking and adaptability, which will be more important for the successful in the future. So my question is, could the move to the online learning be the catalyst to create a new, more effective method of educating the students? So either Madam Azura or even Dr. Peter to comment on this.
Madam Azura may go first.
All right, thank you, Dr. Peter. Well, I think that during this pandemic, we can see quite a mass changes on the education system, especially when transforming to online learning. And I see that where is the relevance of having us as lecturers at universities or at schools, because mostly all informations can be grabbed or can be searched through the internet, and usually students will just go to Mr. Google and see what is it about actually that our lectures are going to say, or what are the assignments about. But then I still believe as a to the concept of learning, you need a guidance or a guru for you to learn something, whereby you will not be drained away by all the informations that you don't know which is right and which is wrong. So still, I can see, even though this new changes in academic system can be a catalyst to a new version of learning, but I still am I strongly believe that you still need a teacher in order to learn or to explore the insights of the information or knowledge that you're going to have. Thank you.
Excuse me, may I interrupt a little bit?
Yeah, please, Prof.
Yeah, it's very good statement from Dr. Nur that every question, can be searched by search engine,
Yeah.
Google. But when we use project-based learning or PBL, problem-based learning, can a professor, as a moderator or facilitator, create a non-Googleable question? That's the point. So if you say if you ask the Google who is the mayor of Kota Medan, Google will answer.
Yeah.
If you create how to design this, Google will answer. But we have to have a very specific question so that student cannot get that from the Google. I guarantee. Yeah. So that's the project-based learning, that important tool, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Bustami. Let me add a little more that from your project-based learning, we have for non-engineering or non-technical courses, we have problem-based learning. So the academicians or the lecturers need to create or give ideas on creating something, one project or problems that can be learned and that is achievable through the course learning outcome of the course. Okay, so project-based learning and product-based learning. I think that's quite similar.
All right.
Peter, have any additional comments, please?
Well, thank you for the question. It's a sort of question that's been stimulating my thinking for a number of years. And maybe people may not want to accept what I'm about to say, but if there's ever been a time in recent decades or centuries where the understanding or the idea of knowledge, what knowledge is, how it's constructed, and who owns that knowledge is now becoming completely fragmented. And there's nothing I can do about that. And quite frankly, I don't want to fight that. I want to take the contemporary situation we're faced with and use that as a catalyst or an incentive for me to start to rethink the way I teach, the way I think and the way I research and the way I interact with people. The fact that it's changing dramatically because of COVID, the way we interact globally from an educationalist perspective is causing lots of anxiety, but I'm not anxious. I'm thinking, okay, what's happening in terms of learner needs? If you look at this question from an evolutionary psychology perspective, that is data from the last 10,000 years of human evolution, human societies are collective animals. And they need human interaction, by and large. If you think about that and the power of our genetic predisposition to want to be with someone else, whether it's a teacher or a partner or a friend or whatever, then inevitably those desires in humans are going to need to be met. The fact that my students can tell me that interpersonal connectivity and that ability to be both creative and adaptive and also to feel supported and respected via a video camera suggests to me that this is not the end of the world. Technology is not the end of the world. It's creating different possibilities. If you want to become an engineer, at some point, you're going to have to work with a professor of engineering and you're going to have to use your hands to design stuff and build stuff. However, at this university, in our sciences faculty, we are now creating virtual laboratories for students to work in. In the education school at this university, the head of that school, Professor Sue Gregory, a bit of a hero of mine, she's creating virtual worlds for aspiring school teachers to learn how to manage their practice and behavior in a virtual classroom with virtual students. So rather than, I think, being concerned that the world is going to take away our power and our knowledge and our usefulness, I believe the opposite. And I agree with one of the comments made by Azura that you can Google anything, really. And quite frankly, I tell my students to feel free to go and use Google. Go and use Professor Google, gender neutral term for Professor Google. I don't mind them doing that, providing when they come back to me with something that they want me to review and discuss with them, that it has some academic integrity built around it. Okay, and so we negotiate that space. I provide them, pretty much my students, with everything they need in a classroom. All my material is online. Journal articles I think they should look at. Textbook is a virtual textbook. Topic notes, videos, you name it. I've got the lot in my Moodle site. But I don't want that to put a boundary around that individual student's intelligence, learning style, and needs. So I'm quite comfortable in that space in the middle, that space in between my expertise and the resources I can use and that students' needs and what they need. And I'm happy to play in that middle space to kind of come to some negotiated or co-learned outcome for the student. Now that sounds a bit long-winded and a bit idealistic, but that's where I'm at right now. And so my structures of thinking and teaching are changing and evolving every week. And I think that's a good thing. And I think we should embrace that opportunity rather than be fearful of what we might lose. I'm really excited about what I'm going to learn and what I'm learning today from this wonderful exchange of really, really motivated, passionate and intelligent people. So I'm not a pessimist, actually, about the future of universities in whatever form they may take. And many of them will become very fragmented, for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, for these valuable comments based on your experience, right? So the next questions is for Prof. Bustami and Dr. Diana. It's more towards the paper and scissors, maybe. Right? The statement is that paper on its own isn't inherently good or bad. Right? It's just a tool to communicate and demonstrate learning. Papers are easy, quick, and plentiful. But it's also an old medium that can't always solve a new problem in the way that technology might be able to. The question is, how do we make the choice between the paper and or digital in our education system of classroom? So when is the paper most appropriate and when the paperless become essential? Is it a blending learning is another good options to maybe Dr. Diana?
Prof. Bus, do you want me to answer first? Okay, I'll try to answer. This is not very easy for me because Peter know that even talking with Peter, I'm still using some notebooks for taking notes for everything. I'm really comfortable with that one. Yeah, but I know because I raised this matter. I try to take the consequence, and because I believe this is very good for our environment. And yes, from the research evidence, we can choose that one in terms of the cost. For example, sometimes here in Asia, I don't know, in the whole university or not all university, we have some problems in internet connection, for example. And in that situation, we cannot just rely for online for the whole thing. We also have to like some paper-based thing. And then sometimes we also have students that are not really good in, like, for example, using track changes in terms of like supervising their final things. And then we cannot just put comments and revisions through the track changes. In that kind, sometimes we still need to use the paper for them as a record, so they can make revision or the process according to their pace. So it's very like individual approach. We cannot just generalize everything. But of course, it's not really a pessimistic condition, because I just found from experience that especially youth, they are very quick learner. So that is only from the initial stage. And I still remember when I leave Sydney in 2007, it's far away from the pandemic time. They are not asking me in the area of my agriculture economic things, but they just asked me as evaluation after this whole process of the doctoral study. Do I really confident to cope with a very new thing that I haven't faced before that? And I think that is the main, the essential of education, that they not uh, giving us the answers, but they give us the way to cope with the learning process. So although this is not very comfortable process because we are pushed and sometimes we can get fall because the push is so hard, but I think we are doing okay, and we are lucky because we can share, especially in this online thing. We don't have any constraint in traveling, in times. We can do it on at home, so we can share those who already more advanced, like UNE, for example, and we can modify it and apply it in our specific individual situations. I think that is my thought.
Let me share a little bit. So in my case, I advise undergraduate student, graduate student, all from my office using computers. Thanks to the PDF experts. So it's very very powerful tool, you know, to check the student papers or something like that. Problem is that because my major is engineering, so not all can be done virtually. So we have to go to the lab and check the result with a very strict, you know, protocol of COVID-19. I think like that. And then, but for paper review, for examination, we can use that one. So, so if we want to choose between papers or soft copy, blended. Yeah, blended is very, very, very powerful. So sometime if we have to go to the lab and go make experiment, you have to do it. But with very strict, you know, COVID-19 protocol, we have to apply there. Otherwise, especially our campus here, not very conducive right now. You know, I don't know in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is moderator. May I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, Prof.
May I just make a comment, please?
Yeah, please, Peter, please.
I want to just let people know that I'm not against paper. I'm really not. In fact, I love reading, and mostly I read paper-based books. I'm an avid reader. I'm reading all the time, and I love paper and I love books. So I'm not against paper. But just to throw another thought in here, or another bit of information, I glanced at some research yesterday that suggested that the act of writing by hand, which was what Dr. Chilila's been doing all through the webinar, is actually really good for our brains. So I just want to remind people that old-fashioned practice like handwriting actually has a cognitive benefit. So I agree with the recent set of comments that it's blending it and being flexible and using different modalities for learning, I think is really exciting. And but we shouldn't forget the old ways are actually really good as well. So I'm definitely not anti-paper. I just want to make that point. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. We are coming into this open question, right? So everybody can answer this if they wish to. Right, the statement is even before the COVID-19, there was already high growth and adoption in education technology, right? With the global education tax investment reaching up to 20 billion in 2019 itself. And overall, the market for online education will be projected to reach 350 billion by 2025. That will be another 5 years time, right? Whether this is the language applications, virtual tutoring, video conferencing tools, or online learning software, there has been a significant surge in the usage since the COVID-19 pandemic. My question is, some are wondering, still wondering, right, whether the adoption on online learning will continue to persist post-pandemics, and how such a shift would impact the worldwide education market. Will all the institutions revert back to the models of education that were implemented pre-COVID-19? So I open to these speakers to answer. Anyone? Sorry. Or doesn't I need to repeat back the questions?
Yeah, not so clear. Just the point.
Yeah. I mean, some people are still, in skeptic on this online teaching methods. So, what the institution especially for the highest education learning, right, institutions, whether we should revert back to the models we conduct previously, just before this COVID-19 pandemics, or we should move along with these new gadget or whatever, or we also call it online or e-learn methods.
I'll try. Can I try and answer that? I'll give you my perspective.
Yeah.
The horse has left the stable. The train has left the station. It's inevitable that future generations of learners will be far more interested in using technology-based learning. I'm not discounting my earlier comment about the need for us as social animals to interact physically, but the horse has bolted. It's an English expression about it's too late to change this. This is happening, and so my 5-year-old grandson can effortlessly use his father's smart TV to navigate through stuff I can't navigate through. And the point I'm making is that the younger generations coming through are so much more sophisticated with using and choosing various forms of digital learning opportunities. That to go back to previous pedagogical frameworks is probably not going to be a great idea. What I'm suggesting is that we need to be, as I think a theme that's emerging today, we need to be very much open to how we blend those different methods of teaching. And I prefer face-to-face. I prefer to have that person in the classroom so that we can establish something that's a much richer experience. That's my preference. But I'm a realist. And so, because I want to be successful and I want to connect and engage with my students, I have to adapt. And I can't go back to the way I did it 10 years ago. That time has passed for my university. We can't go back, and we don't want to go back. We want to be able to do that blended experience. And I think each of us has a challenge in that space. I don't have an answer for what's the best version of that, but contextual issues must play a part. And Hazan, earlier you talked about infrastructure difficulties and broadband access and all of those kinds of technical difficulties that people face. Yes, that's true. And we have those in Australia too. But it hasn't stopped us trying to develop approaches that are inclusive and flexible. So I'll stop my soapbox lecture on that, on that point.
Any other comments?
Yeah, can I add something?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, you're asking about the future of online market education. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so I think it will be increasing in the future, even with people that are already comfortable with that face-to-face learning like us. We find that there are really some benefits. For example, we can meet experts from all over the world with this online thing, because things are really getting more advanced in the future, more complicated, and we are really more specific to one certain expertise, and we cannot do it to solve the problem if we only rely on our own face-to-face distance people. So I think this is of course, everything is a bit difficult in the very beginning, but we are only been doing this for since, I think, effectively since March, and the phase is exponentially growing there. So I'm very much optimistic of that one. And then the second one, we are getting busier and we have our own situations. And with this e-learning, not only students like youth can entering the education process, but there are many like Peter's students from older groups, and then with many limited time availability can also flexibly start their education, because maybe the opportunity is now and not before that. So I think this one, the market will be increasing in the future, and we are going to do it. We can make it, I think.
Yep. May I?
Yeah, please, Prof.
Yeah. I just want to quote a very, very good word from Khalil Gibran.
Yeah.
He said that your children is not your children, it's the children of the future. So education is that what we want, but what they want. What they want is the future. If no, we have to face the COVID-19. We don't know when it will stop, but we can adjust it. So all we have to do, we have technology is just a tool. It's just a platform, is vehicles, you know, to achieve our education. So blended ways is good. In early age of education, memorizing is very good way of learning something. We have to memorize everything. And then now people create tools, they have technology. You don't have to memorize, just type Google and then Google will give you everything, except non-Googleable question. So for me, both are equally important, you know. So, and then we expect that the market of education in the future is also like that. I don't have to learn certain subject to MIT and go there right now, because everything can be, you know, accessed and from you know, using the web. Thank you very much.
Right.
Hello, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah.
So yes, I hope I'm not left behind of this discussion. So adding to from the three speakers' comments and suggestions, and I adore what Prof. Bustami just said just now, that your children is not your children but children of the future, and that is a very nice quote. And I think in this issue that what is it about the education system of the future? I really hope that it would not left behind the students or the areas which are not reachable. I mean, for the internet access, you know, we should think of, you know, rural and urban areas are very different, you know, the geographical, the technologies. And if I'm not mistaken, I saw one question just now asking, what is it for the students who are not having good internet access and how they can survive?
Yeah.
Yes, and we should think of, you know, when we say of online learning, we think that all of the students are having good internet access, but actually it is not. You know what happened in Malaysia? I don't know whether it is viral to you, to Indonesia or to any other there is one student who climbed up the tree to answer the examination questions. You know, in order for her to get the internet access to answer the exams online. So it becomes a viral, and yeah, you know, it is not all students having a good internet access. So we should think of that. Yeah, I'm not anti of any like Prof. Peter said, Dr. Peter said just now. It's not about anti-paper or anti-online learning, but I think when we are doing online learning, we should also have empathy of students who are not having, you know, access for internet, or not having, you know, they have to buy the the by the internet for their handphones or for their connections. So that is what happened actually, even though in Malaysia. Okay, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. The last questions, right? It's very, we seems we are running out of the time, right? So I hope that everybody could answer it in very simple way, yes or no, maybe, perhaps, right? Within maybe 50 to 20 seconds each, right? The statement is, as the development of artificial intelligence, the e-learnings, the Internet of Things or IoT, and the other information technologies increase the scope of automation and standardization of the didactic processes. Is it predictable? It is predicted that this scenario could result in the replacement of the teacher by the robots. Do you agree or not? 50 seconds for each. Maybe we could start with Peter first.
Me? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's going to happen. And yes.
How soon is it?
And 5-10 years. But further to that, our learning will not be governed by our laptop or our phone. It'll be embedded. We'll have, within 10 years, 15 years, the learning platform will be embedded in our bodies, and that sounds like science fiction, but that's what's going to happen. We're at the starting point of a transformation in how learning occurs.
So no more Prof. Bustami, no more Madam Azura, no more Dr. Diana.
No, our role will need to sit on the top of a mountain somewhere, and people will need to come to us and find us.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Diana, any comment for you?
I don't think so. Teachers only play different role. We are going to follow the Google approach, teaching in different way rather than teaching in like this way right now. Yeah.
Madam Azura?
Well, I would not say yes. I don't think so, but I really hope not. I will not be replaced by a robot, because I really have the passion in meeting my students and, you know, teaching. So I really love the blended method, you know, a part of it online and part of it face to face, etc. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. How about you, Prof?
I think we all, you know, agree that blended learning, face-to-face, online, all we needed. The COVID-19 just accelerated.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we wrap up our session, right? To conclude, learning has proved to be the best man in the corporate sector, right? Especially when the training programs are conducted by the multinational companies, right? For professionals across the globe, and employees are able to acquire more important skills while sitting on the board crew, right? By having a seminar like we have now, which are conducted for employees of the same or the different organization under one roof, right? As for the schools which are using the e-learning technologies, are a step ahead of those which are still having the traditional approach like papers and face-to-face towards learning. No doubt it is equally important to take forward the concept of non-electronic teaching with the help of books and lectures. But at the same time, it is important and effectiveness of technology-based learning cannot be taken lightly or ignored completely. For the higher education institutions around the world, right, around the globe, to be competitive against, right, due to the major drop of foreign students subscription as a result of this current pandemic impact, right, the evidence of the faculty preparedness in terms of professionalism is necessary. So online teaching is an essential part of the such professional preparedness, but not the only ones. So our universities and the education sectors now more than ever should invest in teacher professional developments of their faculty for them to be updated on effective pedagogical method, which include on connective, psychomotor, as well as the effective domain score with or without the use of online technologies. So to wrap up, let us pray together for the pandemic to be end very soon, right? While at the same time, the educational sector will be able to rise again with the blended of traditionals as well as the new normals in e-learning approaches, right? After all, our best bet is happy future for all who live on earth, which we call it the home. So with that, I convey back my this session to the Dr. Ismail for this closing session. So thank you again to all the panelists, Dr. Peter, Dr. Diana, Madam Azura, as well as our beloved Prof. Bustami. So I'm very happy to meet you again in the future, near futures. So, and to the audience, Bapak-Bapak, Ibu-Ibu, thank you again for listening and rendering your ears for almost 2 hours of the sessions. And once again, my apologies for any inconvenience made by. So, hope to meet again in near future. Assalamualaikum, selamat petang, is it? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Major Associate Professor in Senior Technologist, Dr. Mohd Hazizan, the moderator. And once again, thanks a lot to all the invited speakers for your informative and fruitful sharing session just now. Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to cordially invite Professor Dr. Insinyur Bustami Syam, the Vice Rector of Universitas Sumatera Utara, come as USU Green Campus Coordinator to deliver his closing remarks. Please.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So I expect the Vice Rector 1 to have a closing remark today, but maybe she is now with other meeting. It is our privilege, my privilege, to close the very interesting webinar today. A very nice moderator, Mr. Hazizan. And thanks to Professor Hendrik, Professor Riri, and Professor Peter, Dr. Noor and Dr. Diana, and all the audiences in the webinar or in the Serembang YouTube channels. I think today we have a very fruitful discussion. Hopefully it's all beneficial to all of us, especially to students. I watch the viewers, many students also appear here. Very nice and strong motivation especially from Professor Peter, Dr. Noor, Dr. Diana also for today's event. I hope this is not the last meeting. Dr. Diana, you are the star. Please come up with other meeting and in other topics. So thank you very much. Salam sehat semuanya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Prof. Dr. Insinyur Bustami Syam, for your closing remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the organizer, Universitas Sumatera Utara, Indonesia, and University Utara, Malaysia, with collaboration of IMT-GT Varsity Council, USU Green Campus, UI GreenMetric, we would like to extend our deepest appreciation and gratitude to all our distinguished guests, the invited speakers, and the participants for being with us today. As mentioned by Prof. Bustami, it is only the beginning. There are more collaboration to come after this. We are looking forward to see you in the near future. Bagi pihak penganjur, kami merakamkan setinggi-tinggi penghargaan dan terima kasih kepada para tetamu, kehormat barisan pensyarah, mahasiswa-mahasiswi serta peserta yang telah bersama menjayakan webinar ini. Just a gentle reminder, please ensure you have filled out the attendance form for the issuance of e-certificate. The link is given in the chat page. Ladies and gentlemen, to record this memorable event, let us be together in group photo session. Please on your camera. And Ms. Ria will help on this. Get ready, everyone.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Ria. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Terima kasih. Kap kum kap. Gracias,
Terima
everyone.
kasih. Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum. Have a great day.
Salam.
Terima kasih.
And
Thank you,
stay
Prof.
safe.
Thank you, Peter.
Terima kasih semua.
Thank you, Prof. Riri.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Azura, Azma.
Thank you. Bye.
Azizan, this is not your last.
Yes, yes.
To be sure. Thank you, Cik Ismail, Prof.
Thank you, Dr.
Bus.
Peter.
Prof. Peter still here?
Dr. Ismail, thank
Peter
you.
still here.
Prof. Bustami,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Prof. Hazizan. Thank you, Prof. Bustami.
And the whole team, Yuda, Ria, Nova,
Yeah.
Cindy.
Thank you, Wan Azura.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
Dr. Ismail.
Show your face.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Peter. Nice meet you, Mr. Peter.
Me too.
Terima kasih.
It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Chalil, I'll catch up with you later.
Okay. I think we need to end this one. Thank you very much all to make
Keep in
this.
touch.
Yeah. Keep in touch. Siapa? Cindy.
Hope COVID pass soon. And then
Yeah. Cindy, kayaknya kita udah bisa end.
Okay.
Makasih Cindy,
Oke,
makasih
Bu. Makasih,
Nov.
Bu.
Nggak kelihatan muka Cindy. Yuda, Nova.
Ya, Bu.
Ya,
Sama-sama,
Mak.
Bu.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy.
See, Cindy.
Nah,
Thank
Yuda
you.
kelihatan.
Terima kasih Yuda. Terima kasih Cindy. Great collaboration, Dr. Nana. Great collaboration.
Yeah, this is only a start. We will do it another one.
Yes, we're looking forward to
Yeah,
next.
for sure.
We're looking
Ini
forward.
lagi di mana?
Waiting for you.
Ini lagi di mana nih, Cik Asmawiza?
Ya, saya.
Lagi di mana?
Saya daripada UUM.
UM.